supposed to be okay. Yeah, it's working, I think. So good old technical difficulties. You know all about that. But yeah, I was like starting to go live and it said like your internet is not connected. And I was like, oh, what? Like, so I went and I plugged it in directly to the modem, and then my girlfriend saying, I think you fucked up the Wi-Fi. I'm like, no, I didn't. And trying to convince her, but maybe I might have to switch onto the Wi-Fi at some point. So, but girlfriend issues. So you're telling me before we hopped on that you're having some girlfriend issues of your own.
Well, oh, well, yes. Actually, no more issues, just no more girlfriend. And yeah, it was 7 years and it was tremendous. Traveled everywhere, went to games, went to concerts from coast to coast, Chuck. But
Yeah.
yeah, I find myself at 40 starting all over again, having to start the whole thing over. What's your favorite band? What are your favorite movies? I don't know.
What's
It's
the
what it
favorite
is.
color? Hopefully we don't do that question all over.
It could be. I'm good with it. If I don't know what this is. I don't know what dating is in 2024 as a 40-year-old. I don't get it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I met my girlfriend on one of those like sites, the dating sites, but it was before they were like the apps. So I feel like I missed out on the whole like swipe left and swipe right, or I don't even know which one is which, but everyone always talked about it like, oh, I better swipe right on that one or whatever. And I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like it seems like in a way, I feel like I missed out, but based on the people that have done the apps and told me, it was like, it sounded like I didn't miss out. Like it was a nightmare. Like it was just really superficial and everyone was really flaky and it sounded terrible.
Yeah, it's not a good world to live in. I will say that. It's not
Unless
probably
you're
a
like,
world for me.
yeah, unless you're like a really like super hot chick and then you can just, take or even just like a regular girl. I feel like you can be very picky. Like the apps favor the women more so. And then, but if you're like a super good looking guy, you can just like clean up and just have sex with a bunch of women or whatever you want to do, or date whoever you want. But if you're just like an average guy like myself, like I think nobody would care. Nobody would.
Yes, yeah. That is accurate. Nobody does care. It's great. And that's why, us guys, we have we got interest in our lives. We love music. 2 years ago, I started collecting wrestling figures again. I have this massive and so that's it. That's all there is. I got the Chiefs as 3-time Super Bowl champions in the last 6 years. And you just got to count the blessings. It's the holiday season and you just go with what works. I'm good with it for now. We'll see where it goes.
How long has it been? How fresh is this breakup?
Oh, it was like 8 months ago. It was like 8 months ago.
Oh, really? It's been that long?
Yeah, it's been that long. Yeah, it's been a whole new experience. It's not something I ever thought I'd be like exploring again.
So you've started dating, you've started doing the apps or the bars, or how do you?
Dude, not really. Like the apps they're brutal now, like you said, and they're very geared to. It's like back in the day, like whenever I was on them, kind of like the time period you're talking about. There was a lot. Now everything costs. I mean, you got to pay for it all. It's all superficial. You're not going to get anywhere. Like you said, we're just a kind of average guys. Where's that going to really get you? Even the I don't know, the Missouri threes, of course, the Arizona, the Arizona sevens, but the Missouri threes they're out of my league. They're out of my league, Chuck. So I don't know. I might just try going to a bunch of concerts by myself, seeing if that works. Maybe try. I always liked older chicks myself. So.
Well, yeah, I remember one time I went to this Vince Neil concert and there was this lady there and she was like buying me beers and I think she wanted to take me home and I wasn't interested. I mean, I had a girlfriend and I was like, oh, it was kind of weird, but yeah, like if you go to like an 80s, like a hair metal concert, like you and I are younger for that crowd. So like we'll be like, you'll have your pick of people but then again, I feel like there is this like other generation of younger people, like people that learn the music from their parents that are now going to hair metal concerts, and you'll see people in their 20s that are going to hair, and you're like, whoa, like, there's this one girl, I've seen her at a few concerts, and I should try to hook you up with her. She's young. She's got to be like 25 or 30, and she's going to, but I've seen her at hair metal concerts, and she goes by herself, and she's a very beautiful young lady. It's very odd.
You do see more of that, and I've met a few, just kind of made some friends and acquaintances along the way. Because I have been going to shows by myself, and I have met a couple like that are just they're kind of out there on Instagram and stuff. People that you see at all these shows, you're like, what the heck? What's going on here? But I've met a few like that. I think there's There's an Instagram girl, her name's like the Metal X or something like that, and she's everywhere. And I met her at a quarantine show in Ohio. She's super cool, great girl. And so yeah, that's kind of my social crowd anyway. Whether it leads to dating or not, it's all good. I don't know, man. I think single's good. Single's good for me. It suits me fine. I like being by myself. I like my own time and freedoms. That doesn't really lend to anything. I'm thinking about getting a cat though.
We have 3 cats. I mean, my girlfriend has 1. I have 2.
So there you go.
So we have 3 cats, and it seems like a lot, but like cats are so low maintenance. I mean,
Right.
we can go on vacation and we can leave them for like 3 or 4 or 5 days. I mean, if it's like more than 3 or 4 days, we'll try to have her dad come and check on them, but they're pretty low maintenance animals. Like it's kind of nice. Now,
That's
dog,
why.
I've heard I've never had a dog, but I've heard a dog is like, it's harder than a kid.
Yes. That is the experience. My parents didn't believe in pets. This is not, this is
Me
a true
either.
story. This is a true story.
We had a turtle and my brother had a turtle and a lizard. And then at one point we got a parakeet. And I think we sold all the animals at a garage sale. We got, they're like the most boring. We couldn't have like a dog or a cat. And that's like a real pet, you know?
You sold your dead bird to a blind kid?
Yeah, exactly. Dumb and Dumber. That's a great reference. Yeah. So what about sports? I feel like you could meet a really cool girl at a Mizzou game or a Chiefs game. And like, if they were a really big fan, that would go well for you. Cause I feel like you're more into sports than music even.
Well, yeah, that is true. And that is one thing that was kind of lacking in my last relationship. My ex-girlfriend did not like sports. And that was a bit of an issue. I thought she kind of grew on it, but that is one thing. Although getting in a sports argument with a girl is sort of a no-win situation too. So I've never had that happen. I've never dated someone that was like a big sports fan.
Not necessarily a sports fan, but at least like my girlfriend, I wouldn't call her a fan, but like she'll go to games with me. She'll watch the game. Like she doesn't want to, she gets kind of burned out if it's like I turn on the red zone, for like 8 hours. Like she's like, I'm going to go in the other room for a little bit. I'll watch the Seahawks game with you. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like I don't expect someone to watch 8 hours of football, but like at least and the other thing too is like, I'm not like a hardcore baseball fan. Can you imagine dating someone who is a baseball fan?
No, I can't.
Like 180 games or something. And like, or if you had season tickets that would be intense.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why I don't understand how baseball is still around. We evolved, Chuck, as a society, and circuses. We don't have circuses anymore. That was a main form of entertainment, back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, Barnum and Bailey circuses. Baseball existed back in a time when all there was to do is play kick the can. And now we need to have evolved as a society. If aliens take over this earth, I'm not going to be the one that tells them about baseball. It's like, oh yeah, we have this sport here that's got 162 games. Managers wear uniforms. There's like rally caps and these stupid sayings, hitting the ball like a can of corn. I'm not going to be the one that tells them about it, Chuck. It's not going to be me. I'll be safe because baseball is not for me. I can't believe it's real.
Some people really like it. I will say I've gotten a little bit more into it the last few years simply because of the betting apps, and I can bet on it. And like, you're like, so then if your team, and the Diamondbacks have been kind of fun to watch. I mean, it's more like I turn it on kind of as a background if I'm doing something else. I don't really have to pay close attention. But yeah, to be fair, I kind of do that with some football. If it's red zone, I'll usually do other stuff too. But some people are hardcore baseball fans, and I don't really get it. I mean, hey, to each their own. Some people are really big soccer fans, which I don't get soccer either. But hey,
but to that point, Chuck, everything except for football in this country is now a niche sport. So baseball, NBA,
it's niche.
Soccer, it's all niche. Yeah.
What was the guy? What's his name? The guy in the Yankees. He just got some massive deal, like $500 million, something. No, 700 million, almost $1 billion, something crazy, like a 25-year contract or something insane. Like
the numbers don't add up to me because a lot of teams don't have national, they don't have like television contracts. They're all on like local television deals. So where's the revenue coming from? That alludes to that leads to these big salaries. I don't really get it. Obviously football's king in this country, and that is what it is. And that's been the case since probably the starting in the late 80s. But yeah, I'm a football guy, and I'm comfortable in that skin, I guess.
Don't you think football, they're kind of ruining football though with at least like, so NFL, I would say they're ruining it because I think they're just getting too greedy, adding too many things. adding another game, changing the rules, trying to add all this like social issues. Like I had Jim Florentine on, and we were joking about how he's like, yeah, the NFL, they're pretty crazy. Like they're gonna try to end racism and cancer. He's just kind of making fun of it, like how just I don't know, like they pretend like they're on this high horse, like, oh, we care about everybody, we care about people, but also like they don't donate any money, and like, do they really care about the player safety? Jim was saying there's like, I think is it the Steelers that have like 3 games in 10 days?
The Chiefs play, like the Chiefs do too.
The Chiefs do, yeah, because there's a Christmas game now. They've added games on Christmas. Like it is getting a little bit greedy to me. Like maybe that's what the people ask for though. I guess we want more. What is it like the Romans like bread and circuses, and like they just kept wanting more and more. Like the games used to be like once a month or once a year, and then they wanted more and more. They just kept getting more and more entertainment. So
you're so right. Not only that, but you're talking about international games in Mexico, games in Germany and England. And you said it, another playoff team. They have 7 playoff teams on each league now. And we're seeing it in college football too, Chuck. We both love college football. We're both fans of college football programs that are sort of middling. But I think it has helped in a way. I think Washington State's quarterback, he's like in the transfer portal now, right? So,
well, yeah, we lost 22 players, including our quarterback and our star running back and a few other guys. And then we lost the offensive coordinator. Then today we lost the head coach, and they still want to play in the bowl game. I'm like, it reminds me of like, did you ever see Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yes.
Where the guy's got they cut off his right arm and then his left arm and then his right leg and his left, and he's just like a stump, and he's still like, come here, I'll bite you. Like, I'll still fight, like that's the Cougs, right? Like they've cut off the arms and the legs, and like, there's nothing left. They're just like a stump, and they still want to play in the bowl game. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Bowl games, and I'm a bowl game purist, Chuck. And that's
I used to be, but they've ruined bowl games.
You're right.
Do they still have the same players and coaches that got everybody ready to go, or how many people are opting out of the bowl game?
Well, Missouri does have one of the top receivers that'll be in the draft this year, Luther Burden III. He, of course, is opted out. He's not going to play in the bowl game. And one of our linemen, and there's a couple others, but for the most part, Missouri hasn't lost any coaches or anything like that. But there's programs like Marshall that lost their entire team because they wouldn't pay their coach, and they don't have a team to play in a bowl game. They're all gone.
So that is real? Because I saw that story that they wouldn't pay the head coach, so he left and he went to Southern Mississippi.
Yes.
And so the whole team said, we're opting out of the bowl game because you screwed over the coach. So they stuck to it.
Yeah. That's out. They're out there. I think they're trying to replace them with a 5-7 team.
Is the whole Marshall team going to transfer into the
believe
portal? That is so crazy.
It's the world we live in, and I'm all for it. I'm a market. I understand the idea of market economics and these players and what this is, but like I don't think any of us signed up for this. It hurts the fans. It hurts the experience. It hurts bowl games. It hurts the postseason. There's the Penn State backup quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Chuck, they're in the playoffs. Their backup quarterback's out, and that was not his own. He had to do it. That's when the portal's open. That's when they have.
That's true. Yeah, I try to so for people. I don't know if it says I have a few people watching. I don't know if people watching if they'll catch the rerun of this, but so some people who are not into sports, I'm trying to how do I explain this to someone who doesn't understand sports, but maybe you're a music fan. Like, what would be the equivalent of music? Like, it'd be like if your band that you like, that's maybe not the Guns N' Roses level or AC/DC level. Like people in that band get plucked up for the band and put in Guns N' Roses, or like the band gets like decimated for people leaving. Like that would be kind of weird. It's kind of a similar kind of thing. Like that would be so weird if you're a music fan and you really like this band and the members keep leaving to join bigger bands.
It's like Quiet Riot in the early 80s. Yeah, it would be the equivalent of that. There goes Randy Rhoads. There goes Carlos Cavazo, or they're I mean, that is true. And we're just trying to find a happy medium there. But we both love sports. Neither one of us, Chuck, you can't be a bandwagon sports fan. You could be a Chiefs bandwagon fan now, but you're not going to be a Mizzou fan, a Washington State fan. There's no bandwagon in that.
No, I mean, it's like, I grew up in Washington. This is the school I went to, was Central, but like we're like D2. So I was like, I started getting into college football, and I was like, I need a team to like root for like every week. And so I was like, it's either Huskies or Cougars. And I was like, you know what? And I kind of rooted for both before. And then when Mike Leach took over, I started to watch the games, and I went to the Coug Bar here in Arizona. And like there was like 5 people there at first because they were so terrible, and they were so happy to see me, and they were so nice. And so then I just started becoming a fan, and I just became like this diehard fan of Wazoo. And I wish I didn't. I wish I wasn't, but I can't help it now. And now I'm stuck. And they're in this like shitty place of like they got kicked out of the whole Pac-12 is decimated, and it's like it's just such a different like. But I don't want to switch teams. I feel like you can't really do that. It's like it's not. My heart wouldn't be in just like jumping on the ASU bandwagon or Georgia or Bama or one of those schools. And I don't know. It's weird.
No. We live in an era where Cal and Stanford are now in the ACC.
That is so weird. The coastal, it's literally the other coast. It's not the Atlantic. That's the Pacific Ocean they're on, but they're in the Atlantic Coastal Conference. It doesn't make any sense.
And the Big Ten has Oregon. It's got Washington.
Again, see, this goes back to like the NFL. We care about people. We care about the players. Well, it's just like with college football. Oh, we care about the environment in college. Well, then why do you have college kids flying across the country, wasting jet fuel and destroying the climate and then destroying the kids? Like, isn't that one of the major stressors of student athletes is travel, is like extensive travel and long, and especially for not football, but like, don't they do it for every sport, like baseball, basketball, these
non-revenue sports, volleyball, how about softball, and how about swimming, and how about sports that are non-revenue sports?
That is so crazy. They're flying kids in volleyball, like across the country in the middle of the week. And then they have a test the next day. I mean, that is just, it's nuts. I don't know.
Well, we're the day of the college athlete, the student athlete, that is over. That is dead. That no longer exists. So it's just a world we have to live in. People wanted this open market. They wanted it. Now they've got unfettered free agency in college football. And it's helping. Okay. Like a school like Missouri's gone 10-2 and 9-3 back-to-back years in the NIL era. They would not have Luther Burden the third if not for being able to come up with an NIL deal for him. Okay. They wouldn't have a receiver like Theo Weiss, who's going to be a draft pick, or Armand Membu, who's going to be a draft pick probably in the first or second round. So you got to take the good with the bad. When programs like Alabama and Georgia are complaining, they hate this because Ole Miss, look at who's in the playoff, Chuck. Indiana's in the playoff this year, right? Arizona State's in. That does create parity, and I think that part is good.
Yeah, well, I think that's why Nick Saban left, because he's like, well, I can't, because he used to just build a program based on reputation, and that's why people went to Alabama, was for the reputation. Now it's like, I think Texas A&M, I think they spend the most money. They outspend Alabama. I think they're I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but they spend the most. So it's like they're going to get some of the better recruits, which is like, it's crazy that they haven't, like, they're not like, 12-0 or even, they've only won like 8 games this year without, even though spending the most. I mean, I feel like eventually they're going to catch up to it, and they are going to win a ton of games because the talent is going to be insane. And Miami is spending a ton of money. They stole the Cougs quarterback, Cam Ward. And I mean, it makes me think, like, why doesn't someone just come along? I feel like, was it some Middle Eastern country? They started some golf thing, and they started throwing all this money at golf just to do it. Why don't they just start a minor league football thing where you could play when you're 17 or 18, and then they could just kill college football? I think that would be kind of funny, to be honest with you.
Don't think that's not possible. Don't think the Saudis haven't tried to buy a league like the SEC, because that has been discussed. It has been. So that's not a fantasy land. That could actually happen.
That would be crazy if they just, I'm surprised no one ever did that before, because there's no like legal law that football players had to be 21 or 3 years out of high school to play a professional football. It was just the NFL had that rule. Correct. But if some other, organization, the Saudis or whoever, started a league and said, hey, we're going to have a youngster league or whatever, and we're going to have 12 teams or 20 teams or whatever, and we're going to pay these 18-year-old kids $1 million contracts. I mean, I feel like that would start to steal away from college football's fandom. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where we go. Where's this at in 5 years, man? It's going to be interesting.
I feel like they got to do something to love. That's one thing I'll give the NFL is they have the salary cap, and it kind of evens it out so that schools not schools, but smaller teams like Buffalo can still be competitive with the New York Giants and stuff, So that makes sense. But how is Bama, and these Georgia, these big Texas A&M and Miami going to be, how can the smaller schools like Washington State or even Cal and Stanford or Oregon State, I mean, how can they ever be competitive with those schools ever again? I mean, I guess it's just, there's going to be no underdogs and no Cinderella stories anymore.
Well, Chuck, the thing of it is everybody's got money. Everybody's paying people. I think, was it just Sacramento State that just hired Michael Vick? The Sacramento State, I believe, is,
or Norfolk State, maybe,
or Norfolk. Maybe it was Norfolk there, and he's from Virginia, I think. So it could have been.
Somebody said something like they were one of the top veterinary programs, which is kind of ironic if you.
So there's sharks at each of these programs that are funneling this money and creating. I know a lot of Mizzou boosters that their money is being channeled from like, hey, you're giving donations to the school and they're doing, using it for whatever they're using it for, to just pay the players. Now coaches are using part of their own salary to pay the player. Just say, okay, here's $3 million and just go get who you can get. And so everybody's got money and everyone's throwing it around.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, because like Oregon, Phil Knight, the Nike guy, I mean, he's got how many billions? I think that I read something today that he's put in over $1 billion into Oregon to get players. And like, it's funny because they still don't have a championship. They've gotten close a couple times and they've been in the game, but I don't think they've ever won one.
They might be the favorite now. They do have a tough road through the playoff, but they have a bye. They're the 1 seed and they're going to have to play the winner of, I think, Ohio State and Tennessee. It's not an easy road, but they would have to be considered the favorites right now, I think.
Yeah, they looked pretty good. I mean, although I feel like Boise State only lost by like 1 point to them or something. Right? I think
yeah.
But anyways, sports, it's always it's that time of year, the bowl season, but it's hard to keep track because you don't know which coach left, which players left, who's playing. Like it's not like it was 5 years ago. So it's a whole new bowl game, literally.
Yeah, man, I tell you, it's a whole new ball game in a lot of things we do, Chuck. And I'm a big fan of yours and the way you do things, and so many podcasts out there and so many things. But we've talked about it all the time, the changing landscape of what we do here. And I was looking at it before I came on with you that, I did 29 music interviews this last year. And my average before that was well into the 50s, or at least 1 per week for a year. So 29 this year, music interviews. That's just kind of where things are, man.
Yeah. I can't get like early in the year, Mick Mars and Ace Frehley were both doing a bunch of press, and they got on some people's shows that like I have more followers than the shows they did, but for whatever reason, those people got them and I didn't. And I don't think you got them. And so I don't know, man. It's just weird. It was frustrating to see that. And then just so many others that I just reached out, like Jerry Cantrell. I've tried to get him. I mean, there's so many people that I know are promoting things, but either they're just not doing press or they're only doing a select few. They're not doing the big junkets anymore, or they're not doing podcasts, or they don't want to do my podcast. I don't know. It's frustrating. I think too, two things have changed. Like one, there's more podcasts and less people doing press, but then also like my standards have gotten changed. Like I'm like, do I really want to have these people on who I've had on before several times? And, they'll do okay. I could get a few hundred views, but like, I want to take my show to the next level, but I just feel like I can't do it.
Yeah. And that Mick Mars thing was something that, and there's always kind of a unicorn out there like that you feel like it's going to happen. You talk with someone, and then it never does. And that's kind of what happened there. And I'm also getting trapped in with a lot of publicists that I'm, become really close to over the last, 7, 8, 9 years. And they're kind of trying to give me guests that are not necessarily conducive to what I do. I do a lot of, 80s hard rock, that's just what the show was founded on. And now you're trying to fed some artists that aren't quite as in the limelight, or ones that are as heard of. And that's kind of frustrating because you're almost having to do it to try to trade off for someone that they might have that would be more beneficial for the show, but it never happens. And so it's just like, what is going on here? I don't really know. We talk about it a lot, and I don't really know where it's heading. I don't know, like what you say it all the time. You're like, oh, I don't even know if I can keep going or what to do. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, cause it's like, I feel like I'm just treading water right now. Like, and I'm not making any gains. Like I'm always trying to grow the show and make it better and improve it. And I feel like I've taken it almost as far as I can. Like I had Darren on, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? And, you know, like he's kind of like the king of that, like, you know, dealing with publicists, like, what do you call it? Like networking or whatever. He's really good at that. And he's really knows how to like, you know, get in with this guy and that guy. And he doesn't give up. He, you know, he sends a lot of follow-ups and things. And I think he's taken that about as far as it can go. But even he, I mean, he doesn't have 100,000 subscribers. Like he hasn't reached that like huge level. I'm saying like, I'm not saying that I want to be like 5 million, but like, I feel like to be like respectful at this kind of thing, I think you need that. Like, I want to get that 100,000 subscriber award, but I don't know if it's going to happen at this point now, unless I go about it some other way, some other direction, a different angle, and then come back to podcasts. Like, I think just going through publicists and just asking for guests, I've taken that about as far as I can take it. I don't know that, you know, so for me, I'm kind of thinking about dialing it back in the next year and just going like doing like one a week, you know, just whatever I'm interested in, more just for fun as a hobby than to try to really grow the channel, because I just feel like that's at this point, it's just not going to happen at a realistic pace. You know, maybe I'll hit 100,000 when I'm like 75, but you know, it's like, I can't wait that long. I got to focus on something else. So.
I know it is a strange world. You know, I started Starcade Media back in 2013 ish with my partner Noah. And, you know, we started from the beginning. It was like, well, if we could just do these interviews, no one does this stuff. If we could interview old Chiefs players, if we could interview old NFL players, whoever we could get our hands on, that's how we started Starcade Media. And it just became like the Zoom era came around, and you see everybody's doing that, and people are on videos. And now it's like, if you're an athlete and you're not doing the Pat McAfee show or, you know, First Things First or some of the ESPN or Fox shows, you're not getting these guys anymore. I mean, we have on the sports side, we do have kind of a built-in network of people that we know and we go to time and time again. And we've met at Super Bowls and all through the year, and we do a lot of sports events. So that has helped. But on the music side, it is just like, it's become dire. And I think that too, that Chuck, after all these years, you know, I think I did my first interview with Jack Russell, who passed away this year, sadly, you know, back in 2014 or 15. And how many interviews did he do during that time? How many podcasts did he do? And I think that goes for a lot of artists. Yeah. I mean, we a lot of the times share the same guests through the years. And
yeah, you were definitely like, when I first started, there wasn't that many. It was like you and like Izzy Presley, and there was a handful of others. And so I was kind of like, I looked up to you guys and stuff, and I thought, okay, like, you know, I'm kind of the younger guy not younger guy, but like newer guy, I guess I would say. And, but then after I started, then the pandemic hit like a year later. And then it was like, bam, like just every podcast popped up, which I think was good and bad, because everyone was doing podcasts, like in terms of guests, but everyone had started a podcast. There was just too many podcasts. And now I think just the average Joe's podcasts, like those ones have kind of died out. But the problem is all the big celebrities, like you said, the Pat McAfees and all these people. And there's only so many hours in the day to listen to podcasts. There's only so many hours for the guests to do podcasts. So they're going to pick the biggest ones. Fans are going to listen to the biggest ones. I mean, it's like really hard to get someone to listen to a podcast. I mean, you talk about musicians struggling to get people to listen to their music. I mean, that's like, you know, they can struggle to try to get you to listen to a 3-minute song. Like, go try to get somebody to listen to a 30 or 40-minute podcast. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah, and I listen to them a lot. I go to the gym all the time, so I'm always listening, and it's always getting me through workouts and just kind of the day. But for a lot of people, you just, especially now, you know, videos are so prevalent in StreamYard and lives like we're doing right now. So you have to constantly evolve it. And it's just kind of, I'm always trying to figure out, well, what's next? What can you do next? A lot of people, Chuck, as you've probably seen, do in-person interviews. And that's kind of where it is. Oh, now we have a good camera set up and we got in person. It's like, I can't do that. I can't fly around the country all year doing interviews and doing it in person just to make it look good. I told you this. We had talked with Hulk Hogan's manager. You know how much of a Hulk Hogan fan I am.
Yeah. But they wanted like $100,000 or something.
They wanted 20,000 for,
that's a lot,
30 minutes. And that was to do it at Hogan's Hangouts in Tampa. You know, we didn't do it, obviously. But that's kind of where it is. And I always talk to my partner, Noah, who you know, and I say, how did we choose the wrong thing? The wrong thing to do. We chose interviews. We wanted to be kind of exist on a grander scale. We didn't think, oh, people want to hear what we have to say about these things, but they might want to hear from these athletes and on my music side, the musicians and just their stories. And it's like, how did that turn into a dead end? That's kind of like, oh, wait, no, we want to see videos of like people playing old Nintendo games and streaming and, pulling pranks on people. It's like, oh, missed the boat on that one, Chuck.
Yeah. Or makeovers. Yeah. Everything's like now everything is like, it's the TikTok generation. So that people don't have time for 30-minute podcasts. But if you've got a 10-second silly video of, farting on your neighbor or whatever, like on TikTok, like that can go viral and get 1 million views or whatever. And, but yeah, it's much easier. That's kind of my theory too, with all the streaming or podcasts or just content is like the shorter, the better. That's what I'm kind of thinking. And I try to do that with the clips because I feel like, this is a good clip. This is a great, but even a minute-long clip or 30-second clip is too long for people's attention span. They're like, no, I don't have time for that.
So true. And that's what you're constantly battling, any type of content creation, which is why, honestly, we do on Starcade Media, we do a lot of graphics throughout the day. We use Canva all day long, finding quotes, something about the Chiefs, something about Taylor Swift, and it's post. And that's what keeps the lights on for us is
so that's your bread and butter is just like taking the quote or something of someone else, putting it on a graphic and then tweeting it out and then hoping people retweet it.
Yes.
Do you get paid on Twitter or only on the website?
Yeah, all of it. All of them. We pump it out 30 to 40 posts a day. And it has just become our full-time job to literally find content. We're always watching sports shows and finding anyone that says the Chiefs are done, Mahomes is finished. We have a largely Kansas City Chiefs audience here and SEC football to a smaller extent, but always finding something. And now you have no shortage of people willing to give hot takes about the Chiefs. And now they're not winning by enough points. Mahomes shouldn't play. He's hurt. Josh Allen's the next best quarterback we've ever seen. Forget it. Mahomes is old news. And when you get that stuff out there and it's like a effect. And we got Taylor Swift here, Chuck. We got Taylor Swift producing content for us. I owe her everything. I'm a Swiftie.
Is that what's happening? So like, is that like the Chiefs and this Taylor Swift, all that popularity that's helping you guys? So what happens if the Chiefs, if they aren't as good or Taylor Swift breaks up with Kelsey? Is that going to hurt your business?
Yeah, absolutely would. I think about it all the time. Like, what if the Chiefs were like how they were in the early 2010s, say before Mahomes was here?
Yeah.
What kind of business model is that for a team that's 5-12, say, or missing the playoffs, or just another boring playoff team? Like, what's going on in Denver, for instance, that would be salacious enough to get just viral stuff going? They're a playoff team. They're a good team. Sean Payton's there. Bo Nix. They don't have celebrities running around. The Chiefs are like America's team in a sense that the celebrity, the appeal, Mahomes, Kelsey, Swift, it's all working in sync. And we're just sort of lucky right now that we have it happening to us.
Yeah. No, that is amazing. But I mean, do you ever think like with going back to the Hulk Hogan thing, like, do you think that it would be like, what if I don't know what you're like in terms of your business, like if there's a kitty of money, like say you had like $1,000 and you got a loan and you put $1,000 down and you got the interview and now you owe 19,000. Like, do you think that you could accumulate that over like YouTube revenue over time? Like, would it get that many views? Like, is it going to be worth 20,000 or probably?
Oh, no, definitely not. I've always said, Chuck, that if we sat down with, had a round table with, Mike Tyson, John Lennon, Jesus Christ, it would get 600 views or something. I mean, that's just the world we live in. That's just where we are, I always feel like we're good at a lot of things and we're great at nothing. That's how it is as a content creator. It's not even the world I saw myself in. I just wanted to be in journalism in some way, in sports and in interviewing and in writing in a way, and that's gone. Chuck, I used to write articles all day, every day. Are you kidding me? You think someone's going to click on an article in 2024?
Yeah, you were telling me that when you guys started that you did these like in-depth analysis and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, nobody fucking wants this. I'll just say like Taylor Swift, took a shit at the Chiefs game, and that's like, and then that goes viral. That's all you need to say.
That is it. So I always say we make McDonald's hamburgers, Chuck. We are not Gordon Ramsay restaurant. We make McDonald's hamburgers. We churn them out. We go on to the next one, and we just try to sell enough of them to keep the lights on. We are McDonald's.
But it's so, I mean, it is working. You've both quit your jobs and you're full-time Starcade Media. So you've got enough going that it's paying the bills.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. And a lot of it is Meta's performance bonus program. I don't know if you've ever joined it.
No. Cause I know you have a lot of Facebook followers, right?
That is kind of it. Yeah. That's been our bread and butters. We have like 66,000 on our Facebook. And then we have the Patrick Mahomes powered by Starcade Media group, which has 200,000, and that just running stuff through that is kind of our bread and butter. I mean, that's
wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, if something ever happens, like if they ever get a different quarterback, then you got to start the new group right away then, right? Or would you think you would change the name of Patrick Mahomes group to whatever the next guy is? Like,
yeah, just the Geno Smith group. And when he comes here at age 38 after Mahomes, I don't know what we would do, or just change it to our Starcade Media group. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's we got lucky on that because we started that right when Mahomes got drafted. We still had Alex Smith at the time.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, well, if this ever turns out to be something, and then boy, did it. Now we work with Mahomes' agent, who's Lee Steinberg, on that group of getting stuff out there, and
really
philanthropical things that Patrick does. Yeah, his agent's Lee Steinberg.
He's do you ever have him on your show?
All the time.
Oh, really? Damn, that's awesome.
Lee is a great guy. He's out in California. We go to his Super Bowl party every year. Chuck, you're always invited. Come out, man. I got you. Come to this Lee's Super Bowl party. We'll be back on the West Coast in a couple years, but
where's Lee's Super Bowl party?
It's just he has a Super Bowl party the night before every Super Bowl in the city that it's in.
Whatever. Where's the Super Bowl this year?
New Orleans, and I think his party's at the New Orleans Jazz Museum.
And you're invited to that? That's awesome. Do you bring your mic and interview people, or is it more just
no,
like you go there for fun?
That's not an interview type setting. We do, we do Radio Row every year. We're at Radio Row every year at the Super Bowl, which I don't know how long that's going to take place. Cause like you said, athletes, what did athletes do when they retired before? Well, you were a coach or you were on TV. Well, now every athlete has a podcast. Every former player has a podcast. So they're starting to push out the average Joes, like you said, like us. We've been credentialed for, I think, 4 straight Super Bowls. So we'll see.
Well, so speaking of the Radio Row and the interviews, like, you got to tell me the story. I only saw the stuff, and I think I messaged you when it came out, but you made TMZ, which is it's crazy. Cause like last year, I remember like at my girlfriend's, like, I think it was like the Christmas thing where like go around and say something you're thankful for, or whatever. And I was like, I'm very thankful for my podcast. And I go, I have this feeling next year something major is going to happen. I'm going to be on TMZ or Fox News or CNN. And it wasn't me, it was you, but I was right. So you made TMZ for fighting with Jerry Rice, but you didn't really even fight with it. He got mad at you. I explained to my audience what happened. Jerry Rice, for people who don't know, is like, you must not know anything about football, because this guy's like the greatest wide receiver in history.
Yeah, likely the greatest receiver in NFL history, Jerry Rice for the 49ers, the multi-Super Bowl champion.
And always I thought he was such a nice guy. I never had him being mean or yelling or having a tantrum ever. And I've seen interviews with him. He was on the Seahawks, and I mean, just so he's very out of character, I thought.
Yeah, he has had a couple of incidents over the years where at these kind of tournaments, this was at the American Century in Lake Tahoe, which is another really fun event that we do and we cover every year. And that's just filled with celebrities. And we just catch guys as they're coming off of a hole and in between holes. And we just, you might get them for 30 seconds. And Jerry Rice comes by, and I just asked him, I was like, hey, the Chiefs receiving core, do you think it's improved enough for the Chiefs to continue winning at a high level? And he didn't answer. And that's when I kind of cut my video off. Then he came back and he said, you're a fucking asshole. You know that? And I mean, I was just kind of taken aback, like, wow, that just happened. That's crazy. Thinking that was the end of it. Well, it was not the end of it, because he went back up to the 18th hole, then proceeded to come back, and he went after my partner, Noah, who didn't even ask the question. I did. He started just undressing Noah, saying, I will F you up. You want some? Come get some. That's what he said. And so I came up to Jerry, and I just said, hey, we didn't mean anything by that. And he didn't want to hear any of it. He was clearly drunk, clearly intoxicated. And he wanted to get that going. And we said, we won't even post our video of this incident. But somebody in the crowd got a video of it. They sold it to TMZ. It went everywhere.
They sold it and you didn't get any money from it?
Yeah, they sold it to TMZ. They sold it, and they came to us first and said, "Do you want to buy it?" And we said, "Well, no, we don't want to buy it." Said, "Okay, well, we're going to sell it to TMZ, and it's going to come out." And it's like, "Well, okay, nothing we can do about that."
So you have some of the beginning video that you never released, or did you release?
We did wind up posting it after the TMZ footage came out and said, "Hey, this is how it started. This is our footage that we weren't going to post."
Okay, now I remember. Yeah.
That's kind of how it went. We just and we had Fox News reaching out, Yahoo, every outlet you can imagine, and we just issued a statement on our social medias and said, "Hey, refer to that." That's kind of all we need to say about it.
You wouldn't do interviews, or were they asking for an interview?
Yeah, we weren't going to do interviews because the event did not really prefer us to do interviews about it and to keep it going. They wanted it to go away. I get it. And we love that access. I'm telling you, 24 hours later, we were interviewing Miles Teller when Donald Trump got shot in the mid. He looks at his phone and goes, "You guys, Donald Trump just got shot." I'm like, "What?" My Rooster from Top Gun.
That's crazy.
Who told me that. So that
Miles Teller, isn't he also the guy from that band movie where he plays the drums and shit? And he's like, were you, was I clicking or was I dragging? What is it? What is that movie? You know what I'm talking about?
Miles Teller is in a band, like a band biopic.
Yeah. It's like a, oh, here, let me look it up. It's like old jazz band. That's like his first big movie that he Whiplash. Yeah. Did you ever see that?
I've never seen that. I've never seen it.
Oh, that's a good
and
movie.
I love him. So
even if you don't like jazz music or whatever, like it's fucking J.K. Simmons is the band teacher and he's just a fucking asshole and he just screams at Miles Teller and he like throws a drum head at him and it's like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's like, it's one of those things that like there's people like that like they get these results, but they're, like I'm sure there's tons of football coaches like this. And I'm sure there's tons of people in bands that we love that get the results, or maybe producers or whatever, that get results based on screaming and yelling and intimidation and, like Tony Soprano style kind of intimidation. And that's how they get the results. But yeah, I never pictured Jerry Rice going back to that whole, like that, just so weird that like, did he start drinking later in his career? Like, was he always a drinker or did he just start drinking after he retired because there was nothing else to do?
I think it's a golf course thing. I think these guys get out to the American Century. It's a party atmosphere. The 17th hole has boats lined up on Lake Tahoe with chicks are topless. It is a unbelievable, like it's another world here at the American Century. And I think that these guys, it's in Lake Tahoe in July. It's great. I highly recommend it. You can get in and meet every athlete you want, and just by buying a ticket and coming in and coming out to the certain holes. But it was bizarre. It's probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. Just because I looked up to Jerry so much growing up watching him with the Niners winning. I remember vividly them winning the Super Bowl in '94 against the Chargers.
Did you ever play Tecmo Bowl as the 49ers?
Of course. With
Jerry Rice?
God, yes.
Yeah.
Tecmo Super Bowl is actually one of the top 5 video games of all time.
That was my favorite game too. Yeah, I love that game. And the original I liked because you had Bo Jackson and stuff. But then the Tecmo, it's funny because the first Tecmo Bowl, like it didn't even have every team. It only had like 20 teams or something. Some of the bad teams are like, yeah, we're not gonna put that in the game.
It wasn't licensed by the NFL. Tecmo Super Bowl was fully licensed players. First NFL game that had rosters and that you actually could have depth chart and you could start and bench players. That was the first time we ever saw that in 1991, I believe. So
yeah, that was, man, good times. Like, isn't it weird? Like when you're in 91, when you're a kid, like everything is just so new and exciting. And like, and then it's where the older you get, you're like, it's not, I mean, you can still have fun. You still enjoy things, but it's not the same when you first experience something. That it's like that excitement. It never gets to that level. I don't think.
You're right. And that's why I'm such a nostalgic person, Chuck. I live in kind of my childhood because I kind of grew up like the Wonder Years. I feel like at least that's how I remember it. And just so Nintendo, all the movies, the 80s, the bands, the music, the pop culture, everything about I was born in 1984. So everything.
Okay. So you're my brother's age. Yeah. You're about 6 years younger than me. So you're like 40.
Yeah, I'm 40. I spent my 40th birthday. That's the day the Chiefs won Super Bowl 58. So that was pretty memorable. But yeah, I'm just a nostalgic person, man. You can see it behind. It's like I think that just nostalgia and being fond of those childhood memories, it unlocks a treasure inside your mind. I just recollected all my old Goosebumps books, Chuck. I don't know if you ever read the
Interesting.
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Yeah, that was a little bit after my time. Like I think like my brother might have been into some of those things because you guys are the same age. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
I
crazy.
feel like he got those at the book fair and stuff. I think I just remember seeing them. Did they make a movie about it too, though? Or
There's several. There was a
okay.
TV show. There's been 2 movies, and I think there's like a Hulu series based on it
Yeah.
now. So
So do you find yourself still as passionate about all this stuff, like the wrestling and the sports and the football and the music and the TV? You find it as exciting, or do you find it like it kind of losing its luster the older you get?
I find that the things that were entrenched in me back then, I still go back. I still have Peacock, so I can watch all old WWF, WrestleManias and stuff like that. But like, no, like wrestling doesn't have the same impact on me as it does now. I still love football every much bit as much as I ever did. I go to as many concerts as I can, but Chuck, those days are, I wouldn't say numbered because there's always going to be bands to go see. It's not like every band that I like 70 years old, but we're losing them all the time. And this last year, Kiss played its last show about a year ago, right? Aerosmith just retired out of the blue and said, we're done. We're out. We can't do this. I went to Motley Crue's last show in LA in 2016. They're obviously back, but this is not going to last forever. I just saw Sebastian Bach a few weeks ago, and you just never know when's the end. Alice Cooper's 77. When Where's the end for a lot of these bands that we revere so much? That's kind of the sobering thought.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's like AC/DC is still, they're getting back out there, and they got to be close to 80 at this point, right?
I think Brian Johnson's 75 or 6 on this
Yeah.
tour.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Is there any younger bands that because I keep discovering new music. And I'll tell you another thing that's really interesting. Like when I saw Train on this because like I have a connection there. So my brother hooked me up with tickets. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go see Train. And they had this band called Yacht Rock Review that opened. And it's just it's like a Steel Panther, but like yacht rock. And it was fucking awesome. And I was like,
I love
this
it.
is so great. This is, I feel like the future of enjoying these songs is with a tribute or cover band. Because think about some of those songs, they're only like the band only has one hit.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go to like 50 concerts to hear all these songs live, or you could just go to this one show. And these guys play the songs. So he told me, I had the singer on my show, and he said, yeah, I said, you sounds like you play the songs a little faster. And he goes, yeah, we play them at cocaine speed. So they're like a little bit sped up and stuff, like more energetic. And it's really fun. I highly recommend checking them out and seeing them if you like that kind of stuff.
I don't think I've seen them specifically. I know who they are, and they've played here at Knuckleheads, this venue near me. But I've seen they're called Summer Breeze, the band I saw, and I love yacht rock. And so those songs, you're right. I thought about that too. Like, wow, there's like these Loggins and Messina songs and Christopher Cross and Michael McDonald, to see them all those in one night. And there's a band that does it better than anyone in rock called Hairball. This is exactly what you're talking about, but for 80s hair metal.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of them.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
And you're right. That is the future of these songs. You're so right about that.
Because they play it better than the guy could play it now. You know what I mean? Like Kenny Loggins, I saw him like 10 years ago. He was okay, but I feel like this is a better way to see those songs because again, they're sped up, they're more energetic. Whereas like the guy that sang the song originally, he's not going to sound as good and he's a little older. So he's might gonna have to do them slower. Like no offense to Mike Tramp. I love the guy. But I saw him recently. I don't know if you've ever seen him live, but yeah, I mean, he doesn't play the songs as fast and aggressive as they were with White Lion. He plays it more like it's not cocaine speed. It's like the opposite. Like he dials it back a little bit and kind of slows it down, almost more like adult contemporary. I don't even know. It was interesting when I didn't know he did that. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, this doesn't sound like as like rockin' as like, Wait and all the songs that I love. I was like, it's like slower. Something's different. I don't know. It was off.
I think a lot of that has to do with, and Mike Tramp has done a lot of stripped down tours and acoustic shows. I think he has been doing his full band lately, but a lot of the vocal changes, a lot of the singers have to, tune their vocals down to another key, a lower key, a lower registry. Yeah. Lower, not higher, but lower. And so that does equate to the songs being slowed down, which is why I know you're not like the biggest Kiss fan, but Kiss in the 80s, when they started the album Animalize and the tour, go look up Animalize live on YouTube. they play the songs like at a frenetic pace that would make Slayer jealous. Like Michael Lombardi from Slayer couldn't even keep up with what Eric Carr was doing on drums at that time. They played every song so fast. It was insane.
That's awesome.
And that's why I love 80s Kiss so much, is because everything is
Yeah.
like, it was so sped up and so fast. And they like had all the old classic 70s songs in this register and this speed. It was great. And I do agree that, I mean, and that's just part of the aging process. It's part of a band's maturation. You know, we didn't get to see a lot of the bands like in the, you know, in the late 70s and in the 80s in their prime. So it's kind of like we get what we get. And like, so that's why when Motley Crue, and I know we're both big Crue fans, when Motley Crue tours, I go see them and I don't even care. I'm unapologetic. We get sick of some of the antics sometimes, don't get us wrong, but I usually go because I'm just that big of a Crue head, right? Like
I am too. I am a big fan, but I always tell myself I'm not going to go to the next, and then I always end up going for whatever reason. But I tell you, like, I have more fun seeing a cover version of Motley Crue or like Steel Panthers do a Crue song than the real Crue at this point. At this point, I mean, that's no offense to they don't sound the same. The energy isn't there. It's off key. It's, you know, Vince's voice. I mean, he did a little better on this tour, but it's just, you know, I saw this cover band locally. I forget what their name was, but they were a Motley Crue cover band, and then also like they'll do all the deep cuts and shit, and like you don't have to go through the big stadium tour where you're parking a mile away. I mean, you just walk into this club, pay $10 or $15 or whatever, and you're right up there, and they're bouncing off the walls and playing it real aggressive. And I don't know, it's kind of fun. I kind of like that. That's how I felt with the Yacht Rock review. I was like, this is cool. Just hearing all these. I'm not even a big Yacht Rock guy, but when you hear all the hits one after the other, it's like, how could you not just sing along and have a good time?
Yeah, and I think that we entered uncharted territory for bands that we grew up with that we like, because, you know, the only bands that we knew that were old were the Rolling Stones and maybe the Beach Boys. Kind of growing up, you're like, oh, these guys are old, and this was like, they were probably like our age, right, when they were old, and we didn't have rock bands that were, I mean, the whole 80s hair metal scene was based on like good looks. Vince Neil and Bret Michaels, they look like women and they're young and they're hungry. And like, we did not have any precedent for artists singing and performing, especially as hard rock bands, into their 60s and 70s. That did not exist. We had no such thing as that. Right. All the 70s artists, none of the 60s artists really made it that far, except for, you know, the Rolling Stones. The Beatles were around like 10 years. So like, we didn't have any precedent for this. We didn't know there would be an Alice Cooper that could perform until he's in his late 70s, or a Lemmy who played until he died at, 73 or 4 or whatever. Or
do you think they still would have? Yeah. Do you think they still would have continued into that age with concerts if the streaming stuff didn't take off? Like, because maybe they just make enough from album sales of, previous albums that they wouldn't have to tour. Like, do you feel like it's financially motivated? Because I know Motley Crue is making a ton of money off these past tours, like insane amounts. And I think that they might have to do that because some of them have a bunch of ex-wives. I don't know if they have to pay alimony or child support or whatever, but I mean, it seems like they wouldn't want to tour at that point.
Yeah, I do. I think that there's not many bands that can live in that world. Motley Crue is one of them, a Bon Jovi, a Def Leppard. You know, there's not many. There's most bands from that era that are still going out are Pretty Boy Floyds. They're just trying to play club shows. They can't afford to go on tours. They can't afford the travel. They got to do fly-in dates. Bands like Firehouse, Great White, Slaughter. These are kind of fly-in date, weekend casino gig type bands that just, and Stephen Pierce even, to try to just minimize costs. The revenue they make, I don't know how much, like what would a Stephen Piercy make a year based on playing 30, 40 shows? I don't know the answer.
I'm guessing like, let's see, 30, 40 shows. I bet you gets at least like $5,000 per show. I bet he makes 6 figures. I bet it's 100,000, 150,000 plus merchandise. Plus, I know they don't get a lot of record sales, but they get some money from streaming. And like, if a song's in a commercial or a movie, or, I mean, they've got some songs in movies, they get credits or, what do you call it? They get,
licensing.
Royalty fees. And I mean, I'm sure but then I guess there's probably a lot of fees. They got to pay a manager. They got to pay an accountant. They got to pay the ex-wife. So, I mean,
they got to pay a publicist to turn us down for interviews.
Dude, Stephen Pierce, I begged and begged. He finally did my show one time, and I got 30 minutes audio only. And then like, yeah, and then good luck trying to get him now. It's like, I don't know. I just get, I'm that's the other thing. I'm so sick of asking. I feel like I'm like annoying people when I have to ask so many times. Hey, will you do my show? Will you do my podcast? Like,
yeah, it is. And that it is. But I feel like I've almost interviewed everybody that I wanted to interview. Obviously, never had Gene Simmons or Alice Cooper.
Within reason, yeah. Actually, Gene Simmons, I was in touch with the manager, and he said like, oh yeah, like send me an interview and I'll send it to Gene. I don't know if he really did or he just was like humoring me, but I sent him a recent interview. I thought it was really good, and it had good comments. It was the one with Jason Hook. It had almost 10,000 views on YouTube, and I never heard from him. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. And that's where, so I do cover some events, some like Rocklahoma is down here kind of in my neck of the woods every year. That's a good place to do interviews right there, because you just get them coming through the media tent. I've done some great ones, and I've learned a lot about bands that I would never give it a chance to. Skillet being one of them this year, John Cooper, who you had on the show too.
He's
John
great.
Cooper's one of my favorite people. He's one of the greatest people I've ever met. And I went and checked him out that day at Rocklahoma, and it blew my mind. I was like, where have I been on this band all my life? Like, I sometimes tend to be a little more closed-minded. Like, okay, my favorite albums are, Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love, and I love Alice Cooper, and I love Rat and Poison, all these. And yet I need to give more bands a chance. Like, come on, like, why be closed-minded about music? That's so stupid. And so there's modern rock bands that I feel like are out there. And I think a lot of them come from Sweden, Chuck. You know this about me. I love the new wave of Swedish sleaze coming from Sweden. Bands like Crazy Licks and Heat and Hardcore Superstar. That's kind of the. Do
you like Rob Lane?
He's great.
Yeah, love so Rob. He was in this band called Teenage Casket Company with this guy Rob Wild, and then Rob Wild started another band called Midnight City, and they're just like total 80s.
Yes.
Have you listened to them at all?
I do know some Midnight City. Yeah, that's right. That's another one.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff too. And then there's other bands that kind of they're more modern rock. They're not hardcore, like die hard, like 80s sound, but they've got that melodic thing going. And
okay, I've become a big Ghost fan. I got to admit. How about you? I've never talked to you about Ghost. I love
I have a friend who is a diehard Ghost fan, and she's like obsessed. She's like, I'm obsessed. And I think I tried to get the guy on. I was like, yeah, I'm not hearing back from them. But what's kind of funny is what song I really like is oddly enough is the new Linkin Park, which I never thought I was a big Linkin Park fan, but the new song, there's like a couple of them, but one of them is like, it's the best song I've heard this year. I think even though Spotify, I don't think it had it as my top song. It really should be, because I love that new song with the female singer. I mean, you could say it's not really Linkin Park, call it something else. I don't know. A good song though.
I'm good with it. I'm good with bands, kind of keeping that legacy going. And again, who am I to judge? You see a festival lineup and bands, it's all about the logo. If you can put the logo up there, you own the name. You see Linkin Park up there and that logo, that's a killer. That's a winner every time. And I haven't heard that song. I've actually been a fan of the new Marilyn Manson stuff.
Oh, does he? Oh, that's right. He had some new stuff.
Yeah.
It's out yet?
He has a song out called As Sick as the Secrets Within. That is so good. I don't know where it came from. And he looks good. I saw him in about 2018. He was like gained weight. He didn't look good. He looked unhealthy. He just looked, and then he had
there was a bunch of memes about that. I think it was like when your aunt gets too drunk at Thanksgiving or so. It was like a bunch of memes about Marilyn Manson.
And it all fit. It was all perfectly right. He looks
now great. He looks better.
He looks amazing. He looks great. And so
I think the scandal is behind him, the whole like lawsuit, that documentary. Did you watch the documentary about him? It was kind of interesting.
Where's that? What's that on? What is that? What is that?
I think it's either HBO or Showtime, but yeah, it's the actress. Forget what's her name?
Not Kat Von D.
No, but it was some actress that he dated. It's mostly her telling the story. And I mean, I'm kind of torn because obviously I don't think that his behavior should, it's bad. Obviously he did terrible things, but at the same time, I'm like, this girl seemed to like stay with him for a long time. And like, that's something that needs to be talked about too. Is like, I feel like we need to teach men and women how to treat each other and how to treat themselves. And like, you know what I mean? She didn't have the skills to say I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't put up with this. I should get the fuck out of this. So,
And also he also fired Twiggy Ramirez from the band, who had similar allegations as him, like a year or two before. I don't think anybody's going to come out and support and say, well, Marilyn Manson's just, well, he's misunderstood. He's a great guy. We all know he's a dark,
he's a piece of shit.
brooding, weird. Yeah. Like we know that.
Yeah. You find that hard sometimes to separate the art between the person? Like, I mean,
like Sebastian Bach, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I love that. It's like somebody said, they posted something. I think Steve Rochelle's always doing stories about Sebastian Bach. I think I commented one time and it got a few likes because I just said, I love Sebastian Bach as a singer. I hate him as a political analyst.
Yes. It's funny because I saw him live like a few days after the election. I'm talking a couple days, dog. And I was like, he did it.
Oh,
he did. He was good. I think I may have texted you during that show. I'm like, man, I'm at Sebastian. Like he's kind of telling jokes. But then it was like the next day, the tour was over and he flew home and like his wife had left him. Like the next day.
That was crazy. Yeah. Now I saw that he was like, I'm back on track or something. It was like picture of his junk and like girls comment and like, it was so bizarre. And then like, he's like, I flew off the handle and I'm apologized. And like, I mean, that was a very bizarre thing. Yeah. I don't know. Some of the stuff you're like, oh, wow. You know, when they're like 25, you're like, oh, he's like the bad boy. And then, but when they're like in their 50s and so you're like, this is kind of cringy. Like, I feel like you should kind of like, and that's what I like about Axl now. Axl kind of seems to have grown up. You don't hear that shit about Axl. Or
that
he's
is
just
weird.
Like, taking it off of the newspapers or whatever. Like you don't hear stories like that. Like he kind of lays low. He doesn't go on social media much. And so yeah, I mean, he just gets up there and I don't think he can sing as well as he could, but I mean, even 60% Axl Rose is probably better than 99% of the world. So.
Yeah, it's weird that we live in a place where like Axl has kind of traded places with some people because Sebastian Bach was always someone I was just like unabashedly a fan of, and like he was on that show. Like, was it Rock Band? Like the one where he's like formed a band with Ted Nugent and the guy was like, oh man, this is cool. Like these guys, I like all these guys. They're getting along. They're great. Now it's like, oh, Sebastian Bach wouldn't even be in the same room as Ted Nugent. And Ted Nugent's been on both of our shows multiple times. I love Ted. He's over the top. We know what Ted is. I love him. He's a great guest to have because you don't even have to have a show prepared. You don't have to do any research.
You don't do anything.
You just throw it out there and let Ted take it over. And I love it. But he always knows who you are. He knows your name. He knows, what you're about. Isn't that cool? Like he's always like, and he
I would love to have Sebastian on too. I think Sebastian would be similar to that. I think he would be a really good, fun guest to have. I think I could have an amazing, especially because I know more about him than the guy knows about himself. I've read his book. I've seen tons of interviews. I've followed him since, he's the reason I got into rock. So like, and that's always been a bucket list interview for me too. But I just, it's like, that's like, by the time I'm thinking 5 years into this, I would be getting the Sebastian Bachs and the Nikki Sixxes and the, and it's like,
right.
I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah. And I had Sebastian Bach kind of lined up before this show in November, and they just at the last minute, like not that it's all about the free tickets, but I was like, hey, I'll do a review, whatever. And love to do the interview. And if, put me on the list or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we got it. Well, if this is a Zoom, we'll do it. No problem. And then they're like, yeah, the Sebastian's team has decided to pass on the interview and the review ticket. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I don't mind. It's not like I'm above buying a ticket to go to a show, but like the show, by the way, had sold out by then. That was another issue because they had told me they were. Anyway, that's just kind of the stuff you deal with. I've never, other than there's been very few, and I know for you, the answer for you on this, I'm going to ask is the band or artist that completely like was horrible, that you couldn't believe it, that it was your worst nightmare. And I know that was the guy from the Misfits for you.
Yeah, kind of, but it's like, I kind of knew what I was expecting. I kind of thought it might go like that. And so I kind of just laughed it off at that point. I think the one that was a little more, and the same with the Jeff Tate Queensryche, I thought I kind of knew that it might go like that. I didn't think the Everclear guy was going to go that bad. I didn't, that one kind of threw me for a curveball, but when I listened back, I go, oh my God, I was so green and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was trying to like do like really in-depth stuff like right away. And I didn't let it flow naturally. He was just there to like promote his tour. And I was asking stuff about like his brother dying and near-death experiences and things that I thought were really interesting, but he wasn't ready to go there. He just wanted to promote it. He wanted to do a surface level interview. And so I learned a lot from that one, but
yeah, you do sometimes. Jeff Tate's always been kind of I've
Have
had
you
him
had
on a
him
couple
on?
times. And it's always kind of the same thing, just kind of short, and he's never mean or anything like that. It's just kind of like, why are we doing this? And actually, my most disappointing interview of this whole year was Jesse James Dupree from Jackal.
I couldn't even get him. That's what's
I
kind of
remember
funny about
that. I
that.
remember that. That it was like, it was around the time we both had like several people back and forth, and like you were
Yeah.
talking to him, I was talking to him like, oh well, I got Jesse, you got that, you got like Kip Winger, I didn't get that, you got the guy
Uh,
from Extreme, I did it, and then I got this Jesse James Dupree when he was just like he was not into it at all, and it happens. I'm not, it's just he wasn't into it.
yeah,
It
I've had
happened.
ones like that too. And that's why, like, when I started these live stream things, I was like, I just want to interview, I just want to have on people that I know we can just have a fun conversation. And I don't want to go through publicists. Like, I just want to like have some people on and just chat and just get back to like enjoying doing this kind of thing. Cause I
Right.
feel like it's just been such a pain in the ass lately that it's like not even fun going through the publicists and all that. And I know that, they have a job to do, and it's nothing against publicists, just the whole process. Like, we're kind
Yeah.
of low on the totem pole. So it'd be
Yeah.
different if the publicist reached out to us and said, with, the guests that we want, and they said, hey, we'd love to work, set up an interview. What's, good in your schedule? And it's us begging them. And then like, okay, well, you've got 30 minutes on Tuesday at 4 a.m. Like, go. Okay. I guess I'll do it. Like,
oh, and in your case, if it's Extreme, actually please delete the interview because there was too much reveal about the new
that
album.
was so crazy. I've
Never
been
had that happen in my life.
I've been following music since since like 91, 92. And that was one of my favorite things about getting the Metal Edge, was reading about the new album that wasn't out yet, but you could read about the song titles and what the song was about.
Dude.
And I remember hearing about the Motley Crue Karabi album for years, like hearing that there's a song called Hooligan's Holiday. And I was like, wow, what a cool sounding like title, I didn't play any of the music, so I'll still never understand that. But that was,
yeah. Considering it's not 1991 and people are not clamoring for new music and clamoring for every little detail and reading magazines like that, any publicity would be good publicity to me.
That's
when
what
it
I
comes to
thought.
a new Extreme album.
Yeah.
Come on.
And again, I don't think I spoiled anything. I didn't play any of the music, and I don't think I revealed any like major lyrics or anything. Or I think you just muted. Okay, you unmuted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways,
I hit the cough button. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you.
That's what it's there for.
So that's always interesting with the music and the public. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna 2025. I got to do something different.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I think I want to. Like, I feel like with a lot of this stuff, we go back to college football, publicists, all this stuff comes down to money. Like, if you have money, you can get anything you want. If you had $10,000, 20,000, you could get Hulk Hogan. Like, so somehow I got to get money. I feel like it's like that scene in the Wedding Singer. Did you ever see that movie with Adam
That's
Sandler?
one of my favorite movies. Yes.
Yeah. When he goes to the bank and he's like, I like money. I have some at home. I'd like to get more.
I have a little.
Yeah. I have some in a jar. I'd like to put more in that jar. That's where you come in. You give me a job, you give me money. Yeah, that's what I'm like that. I'm like, I need money. I don't know how to get it. I got to figure out some way to have money, because I'd like to make it. I was telling Darren this. I was like, because Darren's helped me out with, same as you. You guys have both helped me out with so many guests and things. Like, I'd love to get to the point where I am pulling the strings and I can say, okay, I want to help you out. I can get you this guest or that guy or get you this connection or whatever. Like, I want to help other people. And so I think to do that, I got to find a way to get more money and power.
It's hard because it's like, do we really feel like you should be paying for guests? And is that even financially responsible to do so? But it's like, you want to put money back into your business. And this is kind of what our business is.
No, but
it's hard. It's hard.
No, I wouldn't want it. You're right. I wouldn't want to actually pay the 20 grand. But what I'm saying is like look at Patrick David Bett. I don't know if you know who that guy is. He's a partial or half owner of the Yankees or whatever. I mean, nobody would give a shit about this guy, but because he's a multi-billionaire and owns the Yankees, he's getting A-list podcast guests. And so I'm seeing clips of his stuff all the time. And I'm like, who is this guy? Like, why is he all of a sudden a podcast host that has like all the A-list podcast guests? Well, it's because he owns the Yankees. So it's like, you got to have something like that, like something that you own that people want. And now you have something to give them. Now they'll give something to you. They'll give you their guests, or the guests will want to do your show because you've got this credibility that, obviously I don't think either one of us can buy a sports team, but if there's something similar to that, that would be enticing for guests. That's kind of my goal.
Yeah, it's like, but you also think that we would have developed enough equity by now just by doing what we're doing, putting your head down and
Yeah,
doing
you'd
grinding,
think, but
that it would just be in that world, and
yeah,
it just hasn't worked out that way, right? Like, it just hasn't.
that's what I've realized though. I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's like my buddy, we were talking about this today via text. He's just like, man, greed, money, and all this. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand people's like disgust with that and all that, but it's like, that is the world. That's the world we live in. So you can either like play the game or not play the game. And it's like, I still want to play the game, but I just feel like this route it's not working. Like, I got to think of something else. I don't know what that is exactly, but something. I'm going to dial back the podcast and focus on something else. And then hopefully the something else will take off, and then I can bring back the podcast, because that's what I really want to do. But I don't want to just keep doing the same thing and just reaching out to the same publicists and having the same guests.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels. So
that's how I feel a lot of the time as well. And we talk about this a lot, but we both come from similar backgrounds. I was a teacher. You also were in a capacity. And that I knew though, from when I was a young kid, that I was not cut out for like a real job. I just, my head's not in it. Like, you can't make me, you can't make me try to dial in and learn like how to be a lawyer or a doctor. Like, I don't care. I just want, I want to be around the things that I like. That was always just my goal. So that's where we're both at, that we both, and there is an avenue for it. It's there. People do it. We're trying to do it. We're probably more successful than most people. We should understand that too.
Well, I mean, I just think it's cool that you're even able to pay your bills and, like you said, keep the lights on just by doing this stuff that you're doing with the website. So, I mean, you're more successful than me by far with all that stuff. Like, I'm not getting hardly any revenue. So even if I could do what you're doing with that, I think that would be a step in the right direction for me. So I think that's awesome. I think you're doing really well, and maybe that will continue to grow. I mean, it's right.
Yeah, maybe it's hard once you join the Facebook performance bonus program. It's hard to get followers. They shadow ban you. They try to put the kibosh. So we've had like $20,000 months, and we've had $100 months. Let's just put it that way.
Wow. Well,
you don't know.
I think you're going to have a good couple months, because it's going to be the Chiefs playoffs and possibly Super Bowl and all that stuff. So yeah,
we'll see. Mahomes is a little gimpy right now. The Chiefs got to get the 1 seed if they're gonna. I think if they're gonna get back to the Super Bowl, they need the 1 seed really desperately. So, 3 games to go. The Chiefs got to win 2 of them, because Buffalo is not going to lose. And on the NFC side, you got to love the way the Eagles are playing right now. The Lions, and then somebody out of the NFC West, Seahawks, Rams. Someone's going to have to win that division, and the South as well. So
I don't think it's going to be the Seahawks. Hey. Darren says hello. I think I have to do Darren's podcast in about 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, great. I love to tell Darren hello.
Yes.
Darren, I need to connect up with you too, because we
should do
connected
more of this,
in Vegas a couple years ago when he was there. We were both
David
there for
Lee
David
Roth.
Lee Roth, and David Lee Roth canceled his New Year's Eve gig at the Mandalay Bay, and we were kind of stuck out in Vegas. And I
would love to do, like, let me know if there's any concerts that you have in mind in Vegas or nearby. Like, it'd be fun to like just go to a concert, just do something for fun that wasn't work related, and just for leisure or whatever you call it. And I love this stuff. This stuff is for fun. I know we're not gonna get 1 million streams on this, but I'm having a good time. It was great to talk to you. And,
man. And tell Darren I'll do it anytime. I just got off doing an interview before, and I got to do something after this. Darren, I will be checking you guys out here in just a minute, but I will come on anytime. Hit me up. You're a great guy. Both you and Chuck are my guys, man. You guys keep it rolling. This is what it's realism. You guys are all real, and that's what it's about. Going for your passions, and that's what you guys both do. And Chuck, you're my buddy.
Yeah,
if you'll have me.
Of course, yes, anytime. Yeah, anything that you have something to promote, or just even if you just want to do a live stream like this.
I love it.
But
I had a great time, Chuck.
Follow you on Starcade Media, Clint Switzer, On the Road to Rock podcast. You've got the people go look at old episodes. You've done some great interviews. You've had some of the same guests as me, some other ones like John 5 that I've never been able to get. So you've done some great stuff. People want to check that out. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on all that stuff.
Thank you, man. It's been great. Happy New Year. Happy Merry Christmas to you and your family. I hope it's a great one, and we'll catch up soon, my friend.
Okay. See you later.
You bet.
Okay. Bye-bye.